Hello and welcome, I'm Tafra Gadamu. Triggered by a personal experience faced by every girl and woman, my guest today, Fireweini Mebrahtu, went ahead and designed a sanitary pad that would change the lives of women in this country. Patented since the sanitary pad produced in her factory is cheap and reusable, at least for 2 years. This life-changing intervention has brought her international recognition. CNN Heroes has profiled her, and in 2 months, we will know if she will make it to the top 10 CNN Heroes of the Year. A very warm welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It all started when you were 13 years old, right?
Right.
You faced what a young girl normally faces. And the menstrual cycle was, it came, nobody alerted you to that, right?
Absolutely. Even though I was the youngest child in my family, including my mother, there were 5 girls in the family that you would think that I should know everything about what it means to have a period, but I had no clue. And I think the reason being that is because my sisters, it's not because they don't want to tell me, but they thought it was just it's a normal thing that they dealt with it, and I should be dealing the way they dealt with it.
On your own?
On my own. So when I had my first period, it was quite a shock to me. I mean, it was in school. One of my best friends was already experiencing the same thing. So luckily we were sitting on the back of the class and had stained my clothes, and she could see that I had stained my clothes, and she knew what it meant. So she comforted me and she said, "Don't worry, this is what it means. I already have this." So we stayed behind till everybody left, and it was such a shocking experience till we get home, because I were not prepared by any means. So even to my shock, when I get home, how am I going to deal getting even home and explain this to my mom or to my sisters? So I had to hide myself. Luckily for me, I just ran to the bathroom and changed, and that was that. And I didn't occur to me or even had the courage to even ask anybody in my family. So I was hoping one of my sisters would explain, because she knew I was having my period, but nothing. She just looked, the other way, and she just, I'm like, wow, this is ridiculous, I'm so fearful at that time, and all you hear is that, either you're being bad or you're ready to be married, or even for the worst thing is that you're cursed because you're having this. So all these questions that you have in your mind, who do you ask? Your friend doesn't know much better than you. So that's how we dealt with it. And when you deal with it every month after month, you kind of like get used to it and say, okay, what do I do the next time it comes? It's horrifying. It's horrifying.
So how do you handle it?
It's pretty much, you use any kind of old clothes you find at home, and you use that, and you'll be, I hope that you'll be lucky enough that it won't leak. And sometimes you not even know when it's coming. So you probably don't have even a piece of cloth, and so you stain your clothes, and you see that boys are laughing at the girls and talking behind them. Even to my surprise was even girls ourselves were laughing at each other, as if this was like a shameful thing, and it's just happening to that girl, not the other one. So
I'm over with mine. Let's
right.
have a look at what others are facing.
Yeah. So it was quite shocking. And when you do that, I see that there were girls that they would never come back to school, or they probably miss school so much. And we used to do that as well. So it was no different from one girl to the other, but we were not supporting each other either, unless you're a very good friends and you know that you're going through the same thing. So it was terrifying. Again, this was the childhood that I had experienced, and still today, I still remember it was yesterday.
You were on your own. You had to deal with it, except for that encounter with your friend in class. That's it. It came. You handled it yourself.
That's how we dealt with it throughout.
You move on.
Yes.
Wow. And the statistics are quite grim. I mean, 1 in 10 of young girls in this country go through the same thing.
And in the rural areas, probably even more. Yeah.
They're not alerted to it. They're not told what that's.
And if it does, I mean, they have to deal with their parents. Parents might think that, they've been with boys or whatever. They will be even punished for that matter. You'll be hearing a lot of horror stories about when girls in the rural areas, they have their periods, how their mothers or fathers especially are reacting to the situation. So a girl, just imagine a girl would have her period and she had stained her clothes. She's terrified. She's running to her home, and a father would just come and look at her clothes, and all he can think about is she's been with boys, and he was slapping her and stuff. And you hear this repeatedly with so many girls, and the mothers will tell you, please stop. Of course, at least a mother understand a little bit on what's happening to her daughter's situation, and she will stop that. And it's.
When did you? It's very interesting. When did you talk about that with your mother, for example?
I never did.
You never did, even years later?
Even now, my mother thinks that this is the most ridiculous project. It is. It's shameful to even talk about this, to even do this project. Even today, my mom is a little bit over 90 years old. It is a shame. I would tell my mom, I said, okay, I'm going to stop doing this project just to make her happy. But what can I do? But this is every 90 years old, every older people would think about this subject. They just don't want to talk about it.
We'll talk about that in a bit. I mean, so the impact of all this on young girls is phenomenal. I mean, it's so devastating. School children are terribly affected by that. Girls who work and live in the farms, the farmers, who graduate to be wives, if you will, in rural Ethiopia are pretty much affected by that. It's quite devastating.
It is devastating, I can tell you how the impact of having this pads means to the girls, especially students. We have done a research with Dignity Period associated with Mekelle University, and what they've done at the very beginning was they did a pilot study on 8,000 students, and they did the pre-intervention and after intervention, meaning like they're giving them education, they're giving them pads. So the school attendance of the girls have improved 24%, while the attendance of the boys stayed the same. But they were educated, both boys and girls, but it made no difference. But you can see how the impact it's making having pad and not having pad. What that means is it's not only just not attending the schools, but ultimately they can also drop out. The performance is also being affected by it. So you can see how girls can live without a pad and can perform fully the way they to their fullest potential. So that is really important. It's not just giving a pad. So what it means is quite a lot more than what it is.
You lived in the U.S. for about 15 years, and you saw all the difference that the sanitary pads make in the lives of young girls. And when you came back to Ethiopia, when was it, in 2005, you decided to have to launch this because it's all the same story again. So you decided to produce those sanitary pads and distribute them among school children or young girls. Is that correct?
That's correct. So like you said, I lived in the U.S. and I was only 18 years old when I arrived to the U.S. And one of my oldest sister was there, and the first place she took me was to the supermarket to get pads and other things as well. But when I saw at that time, I knew what pads were for, but I thought I was the luckiest person to see these overwhelming choices of pads. And at that point, it wasn't too long because I was not able to get any access of sanitary pads. When I saw that, I thought I was the luckiest person, but at the same token, I was just thinking of the girls that I left behind. When are they going to have these choices? When are they going to have this access, even a single access of sanitary pad? So at that time, it was planted in my heart and said, wow, lucky, but I still think about the girls behind. So month after month, when I go to the supermarket, I still think about the girls because I remember how horrifying it was growing up without having pads. So even in the developed countries, when you're the least prepared, you'll have an accident. But at least you can go run and get a pad, even in a mall or anywhere close by where you are. So that, to me, was just a blessing in disguise. But again, I still think about the girls. So when I returned back in 2005, what I wanted to know is if things have changed. But why is this bothering me every time, every month? Why am I thinking about the girls? I really think that a girl should never live without a pad. This is just a basic necessity. I know firsthand what it's been like not having a pad and having a pad. I know the impacts that it made in my life. So when I went to my hometown and start asking about what they use, the people were not willing to talk to me, whether old or young or whatever. They just turn around and say, you know what? They either laugh or it's none of your business. They're giving me this look like, why are you asking us about this? So when I just told them, I said, I'm just trying to help. Would you please tell me, what you actually use? To my horror, however, in the village, they told me, normally the people in the village, they have mud floor, so they dig a hole and squat over it. That, to me, the most shocking thing I ever seen. If they could just tell me they just use any rugs or whatever, that's how I dealt with it. I wouldn't be as shocked. When I saw that, however, I'm like, and they don't even have as basic as underwear. So how is that possible when a woman is menstruating from 1 day to up to 5 days can squat over a hole and sit there with the responsibility that a woman has in Ethiopia? She's cooking, she's making injera, she's making everything. She's responsible for everything in the household. So I found out that, I've got to do something about this. Why am I thinking about this over and over again? So it must be my calling to do something. So at that point, I had no idea what I was going to do. It was just, I was hoping that things would change. But when I saw that things had never changed, and I said, I got to do something. So being a chemical engineer, I was just trying to think, it's like, what can I do? What kind of pad I can create for this woman to make their life a little better?
And it went straight to designing it.
Yes. So using my chemical engineering experience, I went through different material analysis. What I was not going to do, however, is a disposable. Disposable with the number of people, with millions of people we have.
It was going to be expensive.
It would be expensive and it would be environmentally terrible to the country. And I said, and it's not going to be even cost effective for that matter. So I decided to make sure that as long as it gives them the full protection to go on with their life, it has to be comfortable enough. It has to be, cost effective. So that's how I based my design on. And when I made the design, going through so many different material analysis, and I came up with a great design, and I had to do a pilot study on a group of women and young women, in fact. And
where only in the town or in the rural areas?
In the outskirts of Mekelle and Adigrat, in fact. So when I gave them these pads, and what the reaction that I got was, first and most, was they were grateful that somebody actually thought about them from, that I have gotten over this and I've got access to pads. So how on earth could you possibly think of us, in such a way that this is quite needed, and what you produce is just a wonderful product. And the way they explained it was like, how we in Ethiopia we wear our white clothes in happy times. So you made us wear our white clothes every day. That to me was wow. This is how significant it was, the shame to happiness every day. So whether it's a happy time or not, it's almost every day is our happy time. Instead of being horrified, instead of interrupting from even our happy times, it was just amazing experience. So that's when we actually...
And then And then you went straight ahead to developing a concept note for constructing a factory, which you named after your daughter. And how easy was it? Where do you needed to pull resources, which was not easy incoming, I guess.
Correct. So again, once the product was established and everything was
designed and patented,
and then got a patent from Science and Technology, the next thing I wanted to do was do it in a factory form. So at that time, even today, for that matter, Ethiopia has been encouraging for any investors to do projects that is feasible, and they were providing great incentives. And one of the incentives was you get finances from Development Bank or other banks for that matter. But my project was a little different. Why it's a difference is because I am trying to make a product that is people are not aware of, people are not willing. They don't even have the means to pay for this product, or let alone knowing the use of this product. So it was very tricky on getting the finances done. So it took me a couple of years to go back and forth to convince the bank that it is actually worthwhile to do this investment. Finally, I miraculously, someone believed in my project, and then they said okay with the project. So that's when we started the project in 2009 and at full course. But the other challenging part was in Ethiopia at that time, even now for that matter, that we have no experienced factory workers in the area. So what I had to do was I had to learn myself on how to do this pad and teach the neighboring girls, and definitely I was going to hire girls because this is very close to them, and I think they will also take pride and responsibility in making the quality product that
you made them trained.
So we train them, and we continuously to train people also at the time. So we give them free training, provide them job, and provide them daycare center, which is not even common in our country, even in most of other countries in the world. So we provide them free daycare center.
And most of the girls that work for you actually are married or have children.
Young and married, and at least have one or two children. So this becomes an amazing organization that not only just provide making pads for the girls who's going to make a whole lot of difference in their lives, but also creating a job that's a decent job with a decent wage, and taking pride in making this product as well, not only for themselves, also for the community.
And how many of them are working for you? All of them are girls, right?
All of them are.
And how many of them are there? 45 or something?
45 plus. It goes up and down up to 50.
So what is the production capacity like?
Right now is we produce about 1 million pads per year per shift. So if we want to double our production, we certainly are ready to start our second shift. Even we're also considering franchising at the moment. So, but definitely we have to maximize our capacity at the existing factory first.
On the consumption end, what is the demand like?
The demand is getting bigger and bigger every day. Every year is increasing almost by 30%. So that means it's really the awareness creation is out there. Dignity Period especially has done a tremendous job.
Dignity Period is the NGO
who actually started because of what we're working on. Where they were fascinating about what we were trying to do, and they just said, they want to be part of it, and they're doing such an incredible way of approaching this taboo, educating girls, educating boys, educating the community, providing pads to the girls. So by doing that, like I said, we have able to prove that 24% increase of attendance of the girls. And
that's quite a figure.
Unbelievable. And they were trying to be able to reach up to almost 300,000 girls and boys as far as awareness creation and distributing pads.
So they buy the pads from you, this Dignity Period, the NGO, and distribute it free among school children, right?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, other NGOs do the same thing, but what makes this NGO different is they take a responsibility of educating girls and boys and the community.
That goes as part of the package.
Correct.
And can people find your products in stores and buy? Because it's very interesting. It's not like they're not disposable; they're reusable.
Correct.
And they can last what, 2 years?
2 years, up to 2 years, 18 months to up to 2 years. And it's cost-wise about 85 to 90% less than disposable pads. So there's nothing to dispose. So because of the reusable sense of it, it can last for that long. And it's accessible. Once they buy it, it's already on their position. So they can go on with their lives and doing what they need to do.
The last time I was on location, I had to witness firsthand how big their smiles were when they started using it. I mean, I'm talking about
The workers.
The children, the school children out
yes.
in the field.
Absolutely. They just mesmerized with no one could, in their family member, would think about them having pads or purchasing pads for them. And a stranger could come from nowhere and get these pads, this precious gift to them, and making a difference in their lives. So it is they're full of smiles and gratefulness. And I also goes to the field here and there, and when a priest raises his hands and saying, thank you so much for providing pads for our girls. Imagine the religious aspect of pads means. So it means so much. You can see how education is making a difference in not only with the girls, but all boys and mothers and fathers. And I remember in the South, a girl told me that some NGO that they're distributing pads into the southern region of Ethiopia, a 90 years old father raising his hand was thankful about the gift that they were providing their girls, but they also wanted to know where they can get similar pads to the other girls staying at home. So that means so much. Like I told you, my mother thinks it's so shameful to even do this project, and another 90 years old saying that, where can I get this pad to my other girls? So that education is making a huge difference in what we're doing.
And so much so that now you're getting quite a recognition worldwide. And CNN, you're running. You are one of the candidates, hopefully, to make it to the 10 CNN heroes for 2019. You have one hurdle to go. You have to make it to the top 10. And we're going to know about it when? This fall.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I'm very honored to have CNN to recognize me for what I do. I never thought that I would get here, but I knew how important it was for any girl to have this pad, not just for Ethiopian, but for every girl that's out there in the world. It's quite important. It seems like that periods are getting its moment, and it is about time that we all talk about this. And by having CNN to recognize what the work I do, it's not because it's because it was just me that it's doing this job. It's just such an important aspect of our life as a human being, that this is actually humanity. It's about dignity, and it is certainly makes me proud, but we should all be proud that the world is actually starting to talk about this serious issue, and we're going to be making a difference once and for all on this century.
So actually they have produced 3 videos, which you can find, viewers can find their webpage, CNN.com. Well, the real business starts, as I said, 2 months down the line. If you make it to one of the top 10, then definitely people will be encouraged to vote for you. Good luck. And thank you very much for being on my show.
Thank you so much.
Keep it up.